I woke up to a miracle today. Triggers stay as I find my way. No judgment to lead astray. In this peaceful state I'll stay.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we're opening up Lesson 312 from A Course in Miracles. And this one, well, it has one of those titles that just kind of stops you in your tracks, makes you really question things.
It really does.
We're focusing on, I see all things as I would have them be.
If you take that title literally, like you're trying to force external reality to bend to your will, well, you kind of miss the point. The phrase isn't really a command to manifest a perfect world instantly. It's more of a recognition of something we're already doing all day, every day. Think about it. You wake up, and even before your feet hit the floor, your mind's already busy. It's already making decisions about how the day might go, who you trust, what you're dreading, what you're looking forward to, all that meaning, the decision, the judgment that's happening inside before you even really perceive the external events clearly. We're constantly looking through a filter we've already chosen.
Yeah. I find myself noticing that more and more. That split-second thing where the mind just labels something good, bad, safe, threat.
Yeah.
And we feel like we're just reacting, responding to what's out there. But actually, we're just playing out a script we wrote ourselves.
And that right there, that's the core insight we really want to unpack today.
Okay. We'll read Lesson 312 now. I see all things as I would have them be. Perception follows judgment. Having judged, we therefore see what we would look upon. For sight can merely serve to offer us what we would have. It is impossible to overlook what we would see, and fail to see what we have chosen to behold. How surely, therefore, must the real world come to greet the holy sight of anyone who takes the Holy Spirit's purpose as his goal for seeing. And he cannot fail to look upon what Christ would have him see, and share Christ's love for what he looks upon.
And the application part, the sort of prayer for the day. I have no purpose for today except to look upon a liberated world, set free from all the judgments I have made. Father, this is your will for me today, and therefore it must be my goal as well.
Okay, that line. Perception follows judgment. It just jumps out, doesn't it? It feels like the absolute core here. And it's radical because it completely flips how we normally think things work. We usually think, okay, I saw that annoying thing happen, so I got annoyed. I judged it after seeing it. But the lesson insists, no, I judged first, therefore I saw the annoying event.
And when you actually pause and look at your day, even just small moments, through that reversed lens, it's quite revealing. You start to see how much of the emotional weight you carry is maybe self-imposed. Let's talk about how that actually works practically. Because judgment isn't passive, is it? It's fast. It's this quick mental process. And maybe it evolved to keep us safe, labeling things quickly, friend or foe, safe or dangerous. But that speed, that automatic labeling, it comes at a cost.
What's the cost exactly? Because, reacting to problems, judging situations, it just feels like being aware, being thoughtful.
Well, the main cost is our peace, our inner calm. The mind's default setting often is pretty quick to jump to conclusions, and frequently those are based in some kind of fear or defense. Think about that classic, simple example we sometimes touch on, how you can set the tone for your whole morning just by judging one tiny thing that happens early on. Let's really walk through that.
Okay, yeah, like the missing keys or something.
Or the coffee mug. You wake up, you're looking forward to that first cup of coffee. But your favorite mug, the one you always use, it's not there. It's in the dishwasher. Maybe someone else used it. Now, in literally milliseconds, the mind kicks in. It's not just, oh, the mug's not there. It instantly becomes something more. It can become proof that my routine is disrupted, or see, nobody respects my things, or even just a vague feeling of, oh, this day is starting off wrong. That tiny little judgment about a mug is like the first domino. It sets off a chain reaction.
Right, escalates so fast.
Exactly. You've basically decided the day is wrong or annoying, so now your perception needs to find evidence to support that story. So you go outside, and the bus is, say, 2 minutes late. Normally, maybe you wouldn't even notice much, but because you've already laid the foundation of today is wrong, that 2-minute delay isn't just a minor inconvenience. Oh no, it feels like a personal insult. The universe is clearly conspiring to ruin your already ruined morning.
And the long line at the coffee shop later.
Monumental waste of your precious time. Further proof,
Yeah.
see? It all started with the mug judgment. The key thing to realize, though, is that none of those external events, the mug being dirty, the bus being slightly late, the line, none of them inherently carry that negative emotional charge. We assign the value. We slap the label on, consciously or more often unconsciously, based on that first judgment. We actually spend a lot of mental energy just confirming our own initial frustration.
Okay, but I have to jump in with the practical objection here. The skeptical listener's thinking, wait a minute. If I just decide, okay, I choose peace, isn't that ignoring reality? If the bus is significantly late and I do miss an important meeting, there's a real consequence there. Isn't this asking us to pretend that real problems aren't problems?
That's a really crucial question, absolutely essential. And it brings us right to the difference between, let's say, practical action and internal judgment. The lesson isn't suggesting you deny the facts. You don't pretend the bus isn't late if it is. You don't pretend you're not going to miss your meeting. You still need to take action, right? You call the office, you figure out if there's another way, you deal with the practical fallout. That's necessary. That's just dealing with life. What the lesson is asking us to release is the judgment, the story we attach to the event, the story that says this lateness is proof you're a failure, or that the universe hates you, or that your whole day, maybe your whole life, is now ruined. We can address the problem, the late bus, the missed meeting, without adding the extra burden of the story, the belief that everything is now terrible and wrong. We can solve the practical issue while still aiming for peace as the purpose for how we see it, how we experience it internally.
That distinction makes a huge difference. It's about detaching from the narrative we instantly wrap around it. Okay, so we stop acting like the world is forcing its mood onto us.
And that's where the power shifts back to you. It's incredibly empowering when you realize the script is yours to write. And the way to start changing that script often begins with a pause. Imagine that moment, that flashpoint of reaction, right after the coffee spills or the unexpected email lands or someone says something sharp. Instead of that instant knee-jerk label, bad, unfair, threat, you just pause.
That pause, like hitting the brakes on that runaway train of automatic, often fear-based reaction. And in that tiny space you create, you can insert a question, a really pivotal one. Whose purpose do I want my seeing to serve right now? Do I want my perception to serve the ego's agenda? You know, the need to be right, to be defensive. Or do I want it to serve something else, something bigger? A purpose that's maybe rooted in peace or clarity or just guidance.
Mm-hmm. And choosing that second option, asking for that different purpose.
Yeah.
It's incredibly freeing because in that moment, you stop deciding what everything means. You stop frantically trying to label and categorize every little thing based on your past experiences or your fears. The shift is from demanding this means disaster to asking almost with curiosity, okay, how else could I see this? Show me a different interpretation. It's wanting to be shown what's really there, beyond your initial reaction.
And when you actually commit to that pause, even briefly, the feeling, it changes immediately. It's noticeable. That sort of frantic, urgent energy that comes with needing to judge and react, it just dissolves. And what replaces it is often this surprising sense of calm, almost stillness. The mental stress hormones that were about to flood your system just back off. And that calm creates actual mental space.
It does. And in that space, there's a kind of honesty, isn't there? A realness. You catch yourself just before you slap the label on, right before you call that email terrible news or that driver an idiot or that comment an insult.
Yeah.
And maybe you just choose silence instead. Not suppression, but not adding the judgment. And there's this deep, quiet feeling that settles in. It feels like just being open attention, letting the facts be facts without needing to build a whole case around them, without needing to weaponize them against yourself or someone else.
And this quality of attention, open, present, non-judgmental, this is the real world.
Exactly. It's the world stripped bare of our grievances. It's seeing what is without the filter of what we think should be or what we fear might be. And getting there isn't about striving harder or doing some incredibly complex spiritual gymnastics. It's actually about releasing effort. Releasing the mental energy it takes to constantly defend our judgment, to constantly prove our stories right, clarity, seeing this real world, doesn't come from adding something new. It comes from letting go of the old painful narratives. When we stop needing our little story of being offended or victimized or righteously angry, when we stop needing that to be true, then the underlying truth, which this suggests is always peace, just naturally emerges. It was there all along.
That makes sense. But moving from theory to practice, it's one thing to release judgment over a delayed bus, maybe. It feels lower stakes. But what about when the judgment is tied up in relationships, involving feelings of loyalty, betrayal, deep personal disappointment? That feels much harder.
Oh, absolutely. That's often the crucible, isn't it? Where these ideas are really tested. And this actually brings me to a personal memory, something that really drove this lesson home for me. It showed me just how powerfully judgment shapes our perception, especially when we've invested a lot of ourselves, our identity, our expectations into a relationship. So years ago, I became really close with a coworker, Mary. And it wasn't just, polite work friends. It felt genuinely warm, deeply supportive. We were in a pretty demanding field, so we really relied on each other. We talked through work problems, vented about pressures, helped each other study for certifications we needed, always grabbed lunch together. We were kind of each other's lifeline during the workday. And I truly believe we built this solid, lasting friendship based on that shared grind and mutual respect. We even chatted outside work sometimes. Not a lot, but occasionally.
Yeah, that sounds like real camaraderie.
It felt like it, absolutely. Which is why, when I eventually left that job, I just assumed, that connection would continue. It seemed solid enough. I stayed in touch with another person from our little work group, easily enough. But Mary, despite me reaching out a couple of times, nothing. I left her a really warm voicemail for her birthday, genuinely hoping to hear back. Silence. A few weeks later, sent a holiday text, just in friendly hope you're well. Again, just silence. Complete radio silence.
Oh, wow, that's tough.
It was. And it wasn't just the lack of contact that stung. It was how my mind instantly jumped to judgment. That silence wasn't just silence. My mind interpreted it immediately as a kind of betrayal. I felt this wave of disappointment, thinking, wow, I really misjudged that whole friendship. I started spinning this narrative in my head. Maybe it was always shallow. Maybe Mary was never sincere. Maybe I just wasn't important enough to warrant a simple reply. And the fact that I was still in touch with the other coworker somehow made it worse, reinforcing this feeling that I'd been specifically personally dropped.
Oh, I think everyone can relate to that feeling. Measuring your own worth or the validity of a past connection based on someone else's current actions or lack thereof, it sounds like you had this sort of unwritten contract in your head, right? An expectation about what a true friend should do after a job ends, how that relationship should naturally evolve. And when reality didn't match your internal contract, you judged Mary. And in doing that, you retroactively judged the entire friendship, seeing it now as maybe flawed or not real.
That's it, exactly. You put your finger right on it. The pain wasn't really caused by Mary's silence itself. It was caused by my judgment about the silence, my belief that it was wrong, that it signified a lack of loyalty, that it invalidated everything that came before. But then later, reflecting on lesson 312, I started to think, okay, what if I applied this idea here? What if I look back at that whole period, the close work friendship, and then those subsequent months of silence? But this time, I consciously chose peace as my goal for seeing it. How would that change the picture?
So reframing it with a different purpose.
Yes. And I began asking myself, what would peace as a goal for seeing actually have looked like in that situation? And what came up was this. It would have meant fully appreciating the connection, the support, the laughter we shared while it was happening, without needing to define it, categorize it, or mentally try to guarantee its future permanence. It would have been about seeing the gift of support I received during that specific chapter of my life purely as a gift, without strings attached for the future.
That's a really profound shift, isn't it? Because it moves the focus completely away from the ending, away from the what happened next, and puts it squarely back onto the quality of the time you actually did share. So for you listening, think about this. Peace can become the purpose. You don't need the external events, the returned phone call, the continued contact, the big explanation. You don't need those things to confirm that the relationship was real or valuable. Its value was in the moments themselves.
Yes, Exactly. And the sense of freedom in that, it was huge. The freedom came from letting Mary just be Mary, letting her life unfold however it did, without needing her to fit into my idealized image of a friend who always stays in touch no matter what. I realized that my requiring her to act a certain way was really just my attempt to control the narrative, to make the past fit my definition of successful friendship. When I let go of that need, I could look back and just see, well, the humanity in both of us. Two people navigating demanding jobs, finding genuine warmth and supporting each other for a time. And that was enough. There was no need for it to be measured against some future benchmark or requirement for eternal contact. It just was. And it was good. Suddenly, the memory of the friendship felt light again, not heavy with the weight of perceived failure or rejection.
And the space that kind of seeing creates, it feels fundamentally different, doesn't it? It's calm, it's not demanding, it's unpressured. When you remove the demand for the relationship or the person to be something other than what they are now or what the relationship is now, even if that's ended, you're just left with what was. And in that quiet acceptance, there's room for real gratitude to come in, unclouded by resentment.
That's the beautiful resolution, isn't it? That was the feeling. Even if the facts remained identical, the job ended. The calls weren't returned. Viewing it without the judgment layer, without the "it should have been different." The disappointment completely dissolved, replaced by this quiet, expansive appreciation for the support that was there when it was needed.
And we can see then how this process works. This is how all relationships, really past, present, even difficult ones, can become part of what the lesson calls a liberated world. They're liberated because we stop imprisoning them within our private stories, our rigid definitions, our demands about how they should have played out or how people should behave. We just see them, recognize the connection for what it was or is.
And this way of seeing, this liberated vision, it doesn't just stop at relationships, big or small. It ripples outward. It starts to apply to everything in your daily life. You look at the traffic jam, you read the news headlines, you get your reflection in the mirror, and you start to realize these aren't things imposing a judgment or a feeling onto you. They're neutral data points, just waiting for you to choose the purpose, the lens through which you'll view them. You get to choose. Will this be evidence for fear, frustration, and separation? Or could it be an opportunity to practice seeing with peace?
So we really want to leave you, our listener, with this powerful question to carry into your day, maybe even just for the next hour. What do I want to see? Just asking that question. Notice how it shifts everything. It interrupts the automatic pilot. It brings conscious choice right into the forefront, where maybe before there was just unconscious, often fear-driven reaction. It empowers you to deliberately pick the purpose for your perception.
When you do choose peace or love or forgiveness as your purpose, we loop right back to that beautiful promise in the lesson, that this way of seeing, the one that chooses peace over judgment, connection over separation, it never fails to reveal a different world, or rather, the same world seen differently, seen truly. It's stated with such quiet certainty. Once the purpose is genuinely chosen, the perception follows. The result is guaranteed.
So, the daily practice here, it isn't really about fixing the world out there. It's not about controlling other people or even trying to perfect ourselves through sheer willpower. It's just about releasing those ingrained judgments. One missed mug, one late bus, one difficult interaction, one painful memory at a time. Seeing follows our choice, always.
And if you really stick with that practice, if you commit to that gentle release of judgment whenever you notice it arise, what's left, it remains when the fog of judgment lifts. It's the recognition of what was actually there all along. A peaceful world, just waiting to be seen clearly. You realize you didn't need a new world. You just needed a new way of looking.
It's the same world, isn't it? The one we've always inhabited. But finally recognized as free because we've stopped demanding it prove our grievances right. We've set it free from our own projections.
And when that inner choice is genuinely for love, for peace, for seeing connection, the outer world inevitably reflects that back to you. It just does.
Well, thank you, truly, for spending this time with us, digging into this really profound shift in perspective.
We truly wish that your seeing today reveals only peace.